There is no particularly special reason why the two Fairy Tail vs. One Piece episodes are together in their own view. This is just a result of my format of grouping episodes together based on their shared attributes, sort of just leaving these two episodes out on their own. They didn't really fit the one-offs and they didn't really fit the bonus, so let's just get these done together, you know? I guess it sort of is fitting to leave this for the end. Fairy Tail is my favorite anime series in spite of how terrible it is a lot of the time. I have a bias for it. So let's talk about these two episodes, by the way.
Jesus!
The analysis for this episode is pretty fun. I like some of the jokes, actually quite a few of them. For some reason, I might like Wiz's over-enthusiasm over Boomstick referring to one of his hobbies the most. It's just nice. It's like, oh yeah, that's my hobby, yeah. It's solid, even though I'm personally bothered by them saying Armadura Fairy is Erza's strongest armor. Even back in the day, the Nakagami armor was the most recently established strongest armor in Erza's arsenal, and that existed after the Armadura Fairy. The only reason I can assume they didn't bring up the Nakagami armor was because they just didn't have or want to make assets for it. Score one for me then. As for the fight, this is basically everything I could have wanted from an Erza fight. It's fast-paced and fluent with a ton of action and a decent variety of armors used. She uses Blackwing, Flame Empress, Giant, Armadura Fairy, Heaven's Wheel, and Clear Heart clothing. Zoro meanwhile gets to spend his time interacting with and coming up with ways around them. The setup for the fight is really good. Just Zoro is wanted, so Erza decides to take him on for his bounty. Simple. Works really well. We get a simple sword fight that's fast and hectic, leading to the escalation to building destruction as Zoro takes a building down in one hit. Blackwing immediately comes out and starts taking down multiple buildings, feeling really fast and powerful, turning into Flame Empress off the momentum of Blackwing and burning shit. There's a fun little bit where Zoro realizes he's on fire and we get to see Erza's more jovial side, and Zoro gets pretty upset at that. It's just a charming little moment that I think plays into the comedy of the series quite well, at least from what limited knowledge I have of One Piece. It fits Fairy Tail quite well, at least, I can tell you. We go back to a simple but effective quick series of sword fighting that I think plays out really well. I don't mind the return to just sword fighting stuff as it feels like it fits the characters better than an endless sequence of Erza going into armors. It's nice to have that little reprieve from scale with just a sword battle. Then Erza goes into a giant armor, we get a cool bit where Zoro blocks the incoming lance and throws it back to Erza's surprise, ending with an Armadura Fairy attack that wipes out the village. Very Fairy Tail of them. I like the escalation of destruction. There's also something just cool about the bit of character where Erza gets to be her occasionally preachy self over lamenting that she thinks she just killed Zoro. But then Zoro is just like, shut the fuck up, I'm not dead yet. Like a badass. Like, I'm rooting for Erza, but you made me nearly root for Zoro with that one on his own. In what is undeniably the most Fairy Tail moment of the fight though, Erza pointlessly brings up her friends when attacking, and Zoro responds about friends too. We get an awesome little bit of Heaven's Wheel ending with Zoro jumping up on her swords to get into a one-strike battle. It's easily the second best one the show has done. Like, I'm not sure on that actually. It's second or third. With a good pause and suspense leading to a fucking awesome silhouetted slice that takes out Erza and the entire fucking mountain in the background. Now that is a fucking kill. Holy shit. The impact of that mountain going off just makes this so much better. I kinda love this episode. Every part of it's great. Love the animation, love the analysis, the conclusion. Sure does exist, it's just kind of and the characters are done really well with good voice acting and some great overall work. Probably an 8, which I didn't expect, but I have so little to complain about here. If anything, it's just they left that Nakagami armor, which stinks, as that would have been really cool to have in an Erza episode. I don't want Erza to come back.
Like I said, you can't touch me.
I don't care what kind of power you got!
Guys, holy shit, we just mentioned the 4 alchemic elements without Boomstick bringing up Captain Planet. We've done it, boys! And hey, Natsu's analysis starts with a pretty funny, abrupt ending gag. I like that. Kind of. And yeah, Natsu's analysis is fine. Didn't have many jokes that I laughed at, but nothing really bad. Ace's is also fairly good. There were some jokes I didn't care for, but overall, yeah. Though, of course, we do have the awkward situation where they give a massive spoiler warning for Ace's death, something that the anime had already covered, as opposed to Natsu's entire backstory at the time, which the anime hadn't got to, which was a massive spoiler, as the mystery of what happened to the dragons, what END is, and so on was still unknown to anime-only watchers. Of course, this is also a case where that's Natsu's entire backstory, so they might have felt it was necessary, but then they could have just given us a little bit of knowledge, similar to what we got at the start of the actual show, and then do the spoiler warning thing as they did with Ace later, like if we said, so, it turns out, massive spoiler alert by the way, and then they explain the story. I don't know. The fight then is disappointingly short, but you know what? This is easily the second best One Piece episode we've gotten, which is kind of like saying, well, this isn't as good as $1 million materializing in my house, but at least I'm not getting shanked in the stomach. The fight has some pretty big problems, but also a lot of really good positives. On one hand, yeah, it's really short and you can feel it at the start. Everything after Natsu goes Fire Dragon King mode is pretty decent. However, we only get base Natsu for a total of 20 seconds in the fight. That's right, we get 20 seconds of base Natsu. and he doesn't use any of his forms leading up to Fire Dragon King. He just randomly decides for no reason to go into it, and I do mean randomly. The fight is a pretty decent fist battle with flames. Ace goes for crossfire and Natsu dodges it and attacks Ace on his way down with Fire Dragon Swordhorn, but then Ace turns to fire and lets Natsu miss him and hit a building. We get a nice little bit of Natsu reacting to Ace being made of fire, then dodging a fire blast and starts with this really weird and crusty looking hand-drawn bit. I'm pretty sure that's just cut from somewhere. Then Natsu goes Fire Dragon King mode using anime footage. It's just weird that he jumped this quickly into it. I mean, I think this is the only time we've ended up with someone going to their strongest of multiple forms in under half a minute. After that though, the fight's pretty decent. Though Natsu fires to the left and the animation makes it really unclear that he jumped over where Ace was. And also now we don't get to see Natsu use his primary two moves, the regular Fire Dragon's Roar and the regular Fire Dragon's Iron Fist. Anyway, the fight is actually pretty good from here. We get another shitty Ace close-up, but the silhouette fight where they're only illuminated by the flames they attack with when they throw out attacks is genuinely a fucking cool part of the fight and really stylistic. We get some more ugly looking close-ups at the end with a punch clash that takes out the majority of what was left of the village. I like the two even being tired out by that clash. Ace goes for Firefly and Fiery Doll, and hey, two close-ups that actually look good. What is this sorcery? Natsu eats fire, which looks great, and we get the cool counterpart to Natsu's early line with Ace being surprised by Natsu's weird fire gimmick. But then we get the end, which is great. Ace throws his great ball of fire, and goodness gracious, Natsu just powers through it. Ace firebodies Natsu's punch, leading to the fucking great moment where Natsu reveals that he had a plan to deal with the fire body by getting his fist through Ace and then activating Lightning Fire Dragon mode. A cool moment where a character actually goes down in power between his forms to take advantage of a character's weakness. And he blasts Ace in the face, leading to a fucking brutal but stellar hand-drawn kill. And the conclusion is good, but missing that little key bit of information they used for their verdict, that fire is a conductor for lightning. That should have been in there. Outside of that, I think my biggest issue would be the voice acting. Not for Ace, as Valentine Stokes does a good job, or Valentine Stokes, I still don't know for sure. But honestly, Howard Wang's Natsu, or is it Wang? Howard Wang, Natsu's is a decent impression, but he doesn't really sell the screams as much as I'd want. It doesn't quite sound like Natsu roaring with all of his aggression like he normally does, and that bothers me a bit. So yeah, good episode. Probably only a 7 in comparison to an episode that excels like its predecessor, but far from a bad one. It has several decent moments, with 2 in particular standing out, only being held back by some dodgy pacing at the start, not perfect voice work for Natsu, and just not having the best crusty anime looking stuff for close-ups. Well, okay, so that was Fairy Tail vs. One Piece episodes. Will any more happen in the future? Who knows? I don't mind Natsu vs. Luffy, and a friend of mine also quite likes it, so I'd be down for it, especially with the newest stuff Natsu has gotten and all of the possibilities that Luffy has. Better than wasting him on Captain Marvelous or putting me to sleep like Naruto. There's also Kaido vs. Acnologia, which, dragons, that's cool. I don't know how to end this video. This was literally just a result of elimination process of reviews. Have a good one, fellas.